R.L. Stine was supposed to give me goosebumps, not depression. These are the saddest moments in all of Goosebumps, and number 1 is guaranteed to make you cry. But first, let's look at number 10. Sarah discovers her boyfriend cheated on her. Goosebumps 2 Haunted Halloween wasn't as big as the first Goosebumps movie, but it still had some touching and emotional moments. It's established at the beginning of the movie that one of the main characters, Sarah, is in a relationship with a guy named Tyler. Despite her mother telling her to watch Sonny and Sam, Sarah decides to go to a party that Tyler invited her to. Once Sarah arrives though, she sees this. The music and the performance done by Sarah's actress, Madison Iseman, are really well done. While it is sad, it's not nearly as tear-jerking as what's coming up later in the video. With that, number 9, Gary accepts his death. You wouldn't think a book called Why I'm Afraid of Beasts would be a tearjerker, but it is. The story's about Gary Lutz, who has a terrible life. Both kids and adults pick on him. He gets embarrassed by how poorly he plays softball and gets beaten up by bullies. Because of this, when Gary hears about a service that allows you to switch bodies with someone else, he takes it. Unfortunately, a bee gets caught in the switch and Gary gets put inside the insect's body. The kid Gary was supposed to switch with, Dirk, takes control of Gary's body but refuses to give it back. In a fit of rage, Gary stings Dirk but realizes afterward that will kill him. There's about a page dedicated to Gary just taking his last moments of life, and it's pretty sad. I felt the strength drain from me, weaker and weaker. What have I done? I asked myself. I gave up my life for the chance to sting Dirk Davis. Why was I such a jerk? I struggled to keep my wings moving, struggled to stay in the air. I knew I was doomed, but I wanted to stay alive as long as I could. Maybe, I thought, as I felt my strength fading, maybe I'll have a chance to tell my family goodbye. Mom? Dad? Chrissy? I buzzed faintly. Where are you? It was hard to breathe. I felt so tired, so weak. I floated out the window and sank to the grass below. I thought I recognized the shape of the old maple tree where I used to read books and spy on Mr. Andretti, but my sight was so bad, it was hard to be sure about anything. The whole world swirled in gray shadow. I could no longer hold my head. The gray shadows grew darker and darker until the world faded completely from view. That's downright depressing. Now, Gary does end up getting back into his body, and the story actually has a happy ending, with Gary learning to appreciate his family more and life in general. The story goes from tears of sadness to tears of joy in an instant. That's not quite the same with his next moment. Number 8, the Sadler kids dying in the cold. Like the title suggests, Ghost Beach has ghosts in it. Terry and Jerry go to visit their distant cousins in New England. While there, they meet 3 siblings, Sam, Louisa, and Nat. The kids tell Terry and Jerry about a ghost who lives in a cave. In the climax of the story, it turns out that Sam, Louisa, and Nat are the actual ghosts. In 1641, the 3 children moved to New England with their family to begin a new life. Unfortunately, there was a brutal winter, and they all died from the cold.
The first winter! It wasn't fair!
We never had a life at all!
We all died in the cold!
Hungry! We were so hungry!
That's a pretty dark way to die in a Goosebumps story. It's even sadder because the Sadler kids aren't truly evil or anything, yet they end up getting trapped in a cave with a creepy man who wants to study them. That gets more disturbing the more you think about it, so let's move on. Number 7, Petey's death. Nobody wants to see the dog die, but that's what happened in the first Goosebumps story. In Welcome to Dead House, the Benson family moves to a small town called Dark Falls. They soon begin to find out that everyone in the town is dead, and they're all plotting to eat the Bensons. The Dark Falls residents end up killing the Benson's dog, Petey, first, since dogs can recognize the living dead. In the book, Petey dies earlier on, but in the TV episode, it happens at the very end. As the Benson family makes their escape, they think they're in the clear. They see their dog and pick him up, and all seems right. Until...
Pete, where have you been? Oh, what's wrong with him?
Number 6, Hannah goes back into the book. The plot of the first Goosebumps movie is about Zach, Champ, Hannah, and R.L. Stine having to get all the monsters back inside their manuscripts. As they're doing this, Zach and Hannah form a relationship, but a wrench gets thrown into it when Zach realizes that Hannah is one of Stine's creations. This means that, like the monsters, Hannah will be trapped inside the manuscript once it's opened. Zach has to break the news to Hannah, leading to this moment.
There's something that you need to know, and you're not gonna believe.
Open the book, Zach.
No, you don't understand. If we open the book, that means...
It means I'll be stuck on a shelf someplace forever.
You know?
How many sweet 16s can one girl have?
Zach can't bring himself to open the manuscript, so Hannah decides to instead, leading to the saddest moment in the entire movie.
You'll be okay. I'll always be in your imagination, which is really where I belong. I'm just sad we never got to share a dance.
This is a really touching scene, but the reason it's ranking kinda low is that Hannah gets brought back at the end. If you want a Goosebumps story with no happy ending, check out number 5, Jekyll and Heidi. Oh my gosh, this story is depressing. I know that might sound like I'm being dramatic, but listen to how this book starts. A girl named Heidi is going to live with her uncle after her parents died in a car accident. Yep. We're dealing with dead parents, and this happens in the first chapter. The parents in Goosebumps books are usually together, or in some cases they're divorced, but you almost never have a dead parent, let alone both of them. Oh, and the ending to the book somehow makes this even sadder. Heidi goes to live with her Uncle Jekyll and his daughter, Mariana. As we find out, Mariana got bit by some creature and now turns into a monster at night. She terrorizes the town, but the uncle is trying to work on a cure. Before he can do that though, the townspeople get fed up and burn Jekyll's house down. In the end, Uncle Jekyll and Mariana run away and go into hiding. Heidi is left without a family yet again, and just to make things even more depressing, it appears that Mariana bit Heidi in her sleep and gave Heidi the curse too. Jekyll and Heidi is easily one of the darkest Goosebumps stories, but it's not the saddest. Don't worry, we'll get to that one. Number 4, Sue and Eddie walk to their execution. A Night in Terror Tower is a surprisingly sad Goosebumps story. Siblings Eddie and Sue are touring the titular Terror Tower while their parents are away at a conference in London. They start getting chased by the Lord High Executioner, but do get away. They return to their hotel, where they realize they don't know who their parents are or even their last names. That's pretty scary, but the story gets even sadder. The executioner catches Eddie and Sue and takes them back to medieval times. The brother and sister then learn that they are a prince and princess and that their uncle has killed their parents and is about to do the same to them. They pretty much accept their defeat as they walk in chains to their execution.
Be brave, Edward. Be brave. Susan.
Now, thanks to some fast thinking, Eddie and Sue do manage to return to the future and save themselves. Still, the way this moment is presented, particularly in the TV show, is really well done and is one of the heaviest scenes in all of Goosebumps. Number 3, The Class of 1947. The Haunted School is another dark Goosebumps story, but for a much different reason. A kid named Tommy is starting his first year at a new school, where he soon finds out about the Class of 1947. They were the first class of students at the school, but all 25 of them suddenly disappeared with no explanation. That's already pretty sad, but it gets even more depressing. Tommy finds out that the class of 1947 actually got sent to a black and white dimension where there is no color. The kids have been trapped there for decades and they haven't aged. Even more messed up is a lot of them went insane and basically started their own cult. There's no happy ending either. Tommy doesn't somehow fix it or anything. The kids stay trapped in the black and white world, unable to age and have no way of escaping. Number 2, Carly Beth's Hopelessness. It's been said a million times, but The Haunted Mask is one of the best Goosebumps stories ever. The book is great, but I feel like the TV episode is what made Haunted Mask iconic. The plot follows Carly Beth, a 12-year-old girl who is always getting scared. The book, but especially the TV episode, did a really good job of making Carly Beth a sympathetic character.
Stupid thing.
To get revenge, Carly Beth gets a hold of a scary mask for Halloween, and it does the job well. A bit too well. Carly's behavior starts to change, but things get really scary when she can't get the mask off.
Oh no, Sabrina. There's no line. There's no line here. I'm gonna tell my mom. Those eyes. Those eyes in the mirror. What about them? They're not my eyes, Sabrina. My eyes don't look like that. Try to calm down, Carly Beth. Those aren't my eyes. Where are my eyes? Where am I?
Seeing Carly Beth, a child in this much distress all on her own, is gut-wrenching. The performance by actress Catherine Lawn is what really makes the whole episode so sad, but there's one other Goosebumps moment that's even sadder, and that's number 1, The Ghost Next Door. This is easily the saddest Goosebumps story ever written. A girl named Hannah wakes up one morning and discovers a new boy in her neighborhood named Danny. Everything about him is so strange, leading Hannah to believe that Danny is a ghost. However, it turns out that Hannah's actually the ghost, and that she and her family died in a house fire 5 years ago. In the TV episode, we see Hannah walking around her destroyed home, and it's pretty sad. However, what makes this Goosebumps story the saddest is the ending. Danny gets trapped inside a house fire, just like what happened to Hannah. However, Hannah manages to save Danny and fulfill what she was sent to do. With her job done, Hannah reunites with her family and moves on to the afterlife. The book ends with the perfect tear-jerking line.
Danny, remember me! Hannah cried as Danny's face appeared clearly in the misty gray. Could he hear her? Could he hear her calling to him? She hoped so.
Okay, we need to change the mood. Check out this video on the top 10 scariest Goosebumps episodes.